Prof, you just to the historical background to the NPP and how they present their candidates according to Kennedy Ejapong. Let's look at it in the context of the now. Do the NPP pile all of the defeats on the head of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, or is a collective issue they should be taking a look at?
It is greetings to your listeners. It is important to say that the NPP as a collective went to war, lost elections. However, the one whose face was on the ballot was Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It is important for us to appreciate that leadership is critical. Two things do leaders do. One, they influence, and two, they effect change. And so it cannot be said that you go to war and you lose the war, and the commander-in-chief and the war general, for that matter, is left to sit aloof on to or spoken of. It is quite a charade in many respects to assume that we have to shake responsibilities in the broader sense. So I think that it's a collective defeat of the NPP, but it's a singular defeat of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in many respects. Yes.
Well, let's take a look at the NPP and its internal dealings at the moment. Some 6 months after the elections, there's a lot of back and forth. Everybody has an opinion to share. And to the outside, it doesn't look like the NPP has consolidated its base just yet. The nature that the NPP is conducting itself at this point, the tangents with which flag bearer hopefuls are taking, will this inure to the benefit of the party in the long term?
I think the NPP has a responsibility, a great one, to unite its ranks. It must do as much as it can to bring some unity of purpose into its space and ensure that it's been able to achieve its goals collectively. And attainment of said goals will come about when it speaks the truth to itself. In the first instance, it must admit that the current leadership of the party have failed woefully and performed, if you like, in many respects, abysmally in the past elections. The truth, some of which we have shared, the fact that the general that led the party to war himself did not provide the kind of leadership that was required, and secondly, among other things, could not win elections because of the non-performance of his government and other, if you like, parameters or indices that really reflected on the general outcome of the election. So that truth must be said. And the second point, which is critical, is to allow for catharsis, allow for individuals within the party who are unhappy about the organization, the mobilization of the NPP as a party and the kind of leadership it has, to be able to speak their mind freely with no encumbrance. And such is missing because it seems to me that there is a certain cabal or machination to ensure that such dissent or opposing voices are curtailed or controlled. But if you don't allow the party to self-purge as a result of its own internal democratic culture and individual actors to state their position and mind freely without being haunted or think of looking aback or on their shoulder to say that somebody is going to hurt me or somebody is going to do something evil against me, the party will die its own natural death in many ways, because in as much as the party continues to lose elections with bigger margins like this over time, then it will lose its credibility, on the side of the people. The other element which is very important is that Ghanaians are looking for people who fix the economy The NPP lost the election on the back of the economy. They knew Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as an economist, but yet they voted against him. It is important that fixing the economy is not necessarily the bane of an economist per se, but it also has great correlation to leadership. There is a sharp distinction between leaders and managers, right? Like I said earlier, leaders influence and effect change. Managers uh, take managerial roles to sustain and maintain what leaders are directing them to do. In a broader respect, that is what Ghanaians are looking for. And I think in many ways they did not see that in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia at the time he was going into election. On my own reflections, I can say that, for example, if I were Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, by the second term of the government, when the economy was going the way it was, going the direction it was going, if he had no business or had not contributed to same, and his voice was not heard, I would have anticipated that he would have forcefully come out, for example, and possibly threaten resignation, among other things, right? But that did not happen. Ghanaians are looking for strong, tough, robust, committed, hard-working, determined individuals who are willing to bring radical change, no matter how systematic it would be. And I think that it is the narrative broadly within the NPP is about how many times you present a candidate that would allow the candidate to become marketable seem to me an insult to the state, an insult to the populace. As a matter of fact, Ghanaians are looking for leadership. I've said a year or two ago that Ghana and Africa in general, we are in what I refer to as the leadership crisis. As a result of that, in my contemplation, I hope and pray that because we have a leadership crisis, Ghanaians themselves, especially within the middle class, right, the educated elites, and also those even in the lower class, are looking for the kind of leadership that will deliver home the public good, not somebody who is a candidate per se, marketing himself over time to lose elections 2, 3, or 4 times to win political power. Such agency, such commitment to win political power is not necessarily good in itself. What is important is that do you have anything to offer the people, and do the people see leadership in you? Now, if the people who look at the NPP see specifically as somebody who does not have the kind of leadership acumen and skill and ability and has not demonstrated that, and the party decides to present that person over and over again, I want to believe that Ghanaians are intelligent enough to say that they will not vote for that leader. And when that happens and Ghanaians refuse to vote for that party, the NPP, based on poor showing in terms of the kind of candidate that is presented or who is presented over time, it renders the party moribund because of the party's lack of sense and commitment to produce a leader who would be acceptable in the sight of Ghanaians and who would be embraced by Ghanaians, knowing that Ghanaians have seen such individuals' track record and appreciate that if that individual has done it either in the public sphere or in both the public and private sphere, that individual can lead. Then the party will continue to suffer defeats in elections. And the parties, especially the NPP, respectfully so, must know that Ghanaians are systematically and gradually growing. Our democracy, embryonic as it may, it's growing, and Ghanaians are beginning to focus on politics of issues and not of sides. There's also another element of ethnic politics that is going on, and it has subsisted over time, right? You see, when it is somebody is of a certain extraction, and that person should be allowed to lead, because if you don't allow that person to lead, it means that they are not respecting that extraction, ethnic extraction. It is ethnocentric politics. You see, if you take a centrist approach, you are collecting good of the state and of the people, and that out of many ethnic nations, we have become a constitutional democracy or a nation state called Ghana. So when emphasis is based or the ethnic orientation of an individual to suffice or to allow that individual to lead. What it simply means is that ethnicity is rather becoming the badge of honor instead of intelligence, acumen, practical, and history of that individual insofar as achievements and commitment to both party, society, and state is concerned. So we need to be very careful. Anybody who want to say, for example, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is a Northerner because of that issue, Ghanaians will not to be insulted on that basis. They are interested in leader emerging and that leader transforming the state called Ghana, like we saw in Singapore, like we've seen, and economic giants. China remains a civilization state. China remains a country, if you can, because it still has a broader rural enclave. But as a matter of fact, what the Chinese have done is conservative, the hand factor, develop themselves as if there are not the Tibetans, they are not the Mongols, they are not the other ethnic extractions. They have conservatively allowed themselves to hold themselves at the center and to develop their state, devoid of emphasis on and all the other shady and, for that matter, silly reasons that we have bedeviled ourselves with in itself. Right.
Let's take a look at the number of people who will be showing interest in leading the party in the 2028 elections. You've spoken about catharsis, the need for catharsis. We've seen to a certain extent people letting it all out about what went wrong with the NPP. At some point, some felt that the party leadership was suppressing the concerns or the views of some party members. But moving ahead of that and looking at leadership, we've seen Dr. Bawumia wanting again Japan, showing that he again wants to be given the nod. The latest is Dr. Brian Echampong. Others would also show up. How should the NPP look at addressing this issue of flag bearer election so that what happened in the lead up to 2024 does not happen to them again? In the lead up, after Dr. Bawumia had won, or before he even won, Alan Tremantin broke away. Kennedy Japan and his supporters were not so enthused about how things panned out. If the NPP wants to consolidate their base, wants to move the NDC out of office and take the place, how should they be looking at things moving forward so that they manage the egos in the party, they manage expectations in the lead up to their primaries and even after they have selected a flag bearer?
I think the NPP will be acting as mischievous people to themselves and to the party if today, as we speak, they are not clearly aware of the fact that Mr. Kennedy Japan, for that matter, is going to be and would remain an indispensable element in the party going forward into 2028 elections. I mean, fundamentally, if anybody wins apart from himself, anyone who would emerge victorious will still need him to win 2028 elections or show up with a great performance in that regard, especially in mobilizing the party countrywide. I dare say that. The challenge here is that the members of the party in that regard also see that he is a powerful force within the party because of his own commitment towards the party and the role he's playing the role is played to ensure that the party still has a strong footing and is able to contribute to the national discourse and development. It is the very reason why the followers of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia must be very cautious in articulating their position to support the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Must be very cautious not to throw missiles against Mr. Kennedy Japan, because they may end up regretting in the foreseeable future. There are a lot of things at stake. What is at stake is that the NPP went into elections and lost miserably. And that bad performance came about as a result of a kind of bad leadership that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia offered the NPP. The challenge here is that if you want to rebrand him to lead the party, it must be based on the acceptance of the entire electoral college. If the electoral college is sharply divided on many fronts and they cannot easily give him the leadership, it means they don't want him. They may try to adopt several strategies to keep him or to get him to be in power. To get him to be in power, what will happen is that they may eventually end up hurting or shooting themselves in the foot, because it will not be a reflection of a party that is united. He may then have to trying to cut the sympathy of Mr. Kennedy Japan, which was much ado about nothing at the time of going even into the last elections, because the party was already poisoned and divided sharply. If he just thinks, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia just thinks that he must become a flag bearer anyway, it means that he does not understand politics. And I'm sorry, it's quite shameful to see around this time those who are advising him have proven not to understand Ghanaian politics and even the politics within the NPP. Look at the rigor that comes with our elections as a country. It was almost a do or die affair, and gradually we are beginning to understand that it is not do or die affair. Elections and politics is about numbers. It is science. If the people cast their ballot must be counted, and it must reflect what they did at the polls, and not anyone using any computerized generated numbers to determine the fate of elections. This point I make, silly as it may, it is destructive for participation to go towards a tangent. The desire of the, if you like, plutocratic, oligarchic within a party or a state, who want to control the force of the control the forces of that entity called the NPP. Well, it is dangerous. It is dangerous to pursue such lines, because today the party people are not happy, and so that is what they should be doing. Happy, and to make them happy, it's not present anybody as a lead candidate, or anybody trying to mobilize some people for himself as the lead candidate, or a flag bearer, or that person. Party must appease the party. All day today, allow the party to organically, right, grow new strength like the eagle, grow new feathers for a new takeoff going forward. And if they don't allow that to happen, and the old forces, especially those who led the party into such gargantuan failure, decide to want to hold on to the party as such, They will be dancing to their own tune, but their own tune indeed is failure, and indeed is going to be a cost they may not be able to bear in the foreseeable future.
We're most grateful for your time this morning, sir.
You're welcome.
Professor Samuel Ledu Jemfi is a political historian at the KNUST.